Welcome to this Sliced Bread Productions video. Today we are in Microsoft Flight Simulator at iconic Lake Tahoe Airport in Northern California. We have a pre-release copy of a new scenery for the airport from up-and-coming developer Stealthy Duck. Join us today as we take a flight from Lake Tahoe west to Auburn. That's all coming up after the intro, so stay with us. Well, welcome back to Lake Tahoe. You'll notice from the intro that the aircraft has moved and we're sitting in front of Mountain West Aviation. This is the actual FBO building in present day, and we'll be talking a little bit more about some of the history of the airport and some of the research and work that the developers put into this scenery during the cruise. In order to do that, we've been privileged to have both of the developers, Ryan and Josh, with us for this flight, and also one of the beta testers of the scenery, Chris. We're going to be doing a flight of 3, and Ryan is in the tower right now and going to be taking some video of us departing from Lake Tahoe, and we'll have a little bit of a conversation during the cruise over west to Auburn. So we're sitting here at Mountain West Aviation, and we're just going to pan around a little bit, and you'll see the iconic green A-frame building that everybody thinks is the FBO, but is no longer that. And some of the hangars here on the south side, complete with a couple that have the hangar doors open that you can actually park your aircraft in. So today what we're going to do is we're going to taxi down taxiway Alpha to runway 36 and take off to the north. And part of the departure procedure on a visual departure, there is a white arrow on the ground on the way out, and we're going to follow that arrow and make a left turn over the marina, which has also had some extensive rework done to the scenery. And we're going to head down the lake to the Squaw Valley VOR. We're going to be flying this as a VFR flight today. We've got the weather just set to a few clouds, and we're going to do this flight of 3, so you'll hear us making some VFR traffic calls and just having a fun group flight and hopefully giving you some information on this scenery. So we're going to get on to the flight. All right, here we are in the aircraft. So I'm going to be leading the pack today. And we're sitting at the FBO, so I'm going to make my first call and announce that I'm taxiing, and we'll just head on from there. Seneca 8134 Quebec at Mountain West Aviation, taxiing runway 36 via Alpha, Lake Tahoe. And here we go. So we've already pre-flighted the aircraft and done all our run-ups and checks in the interest of saving some time on the video.
Approaching runway 18.
So as we taxi down to the runway here, you'll notice the large hangar on the right with the open door. Big enough to park King Air or larger aircraft of that size. There's extensive fencing been put in all around the airport. All the taxiway signs are accurate as to what is there now in the real world. Very reminiscent of the classic Orbic scenery that was the go-to for this airport back in the FSX and P3D days, something that's been severely lacking ever since we've moved from those simulators into X-Plane and then even to Microsoft Flight Simulator. We are so glad you have chosen to join us for this flight today, along with a look at the new Lake Tahoe scenery by Stealthy Duck. If you are enjoying the video, please like and subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon to be notified of future videos. So coming up here now down to runway 36. And we're looking for any traffic that might be coming.
Approaching runway 36.
There's no traffic on approach, and we're not seeing any traffic on the runway, so it looks like it's safe to depart.
Seneca 8134 Quebec at Mountain West Aviation, taxi runway 36 via Alpha, Lake Tahoe. And Lake Tahoe traffic, Piper 8134 Quebec, taking runway 36 for a straight up departure to the north, Lake Tahoe.
Lake Tahoe traffic, Seneca 771 Lima Delta departing runway 36, straight out departure north, Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe, November 65 flight 5, take off runway 36.
Piper 8134 Quebec is departing the area to the northwest. Last call, Lake Tahoe traffic.
Okay, we're slowly advancing the throttles. All the temperatures are looking good. And we've got 80 knots, 90 knots. We're pulling back a little bit, letting the aircraft fly off the runway. We've got a positive rate of climb. Gear is going up. And we're going to fly runway heading. Now it's going to be a little hard to see this white arrow from the inside, so I'm going to go to an outside view here. And this is just the level of detail that these guys have put into this scenery. I was not even aware of this green arrow or this white arrow, and but it is in one of the departure briefings. And there's the arrow. You can see it's just passing under the aircraft right now. So we're making a slight left turn. And the published departure procedure of the Ritchie 7 does indicate that we would make a turn and track a radial out of the Squaw Valley VOR, which would basically put us on the same heading as what we're flying here visually. As we're coming over the marina here, you'll see all the hand-placed boats that really add to the realism as opposed to the flat kind of Google or Bing scenery that just draws something on the water without any 3D image. So another example of the level of detail that you're going to find in this scenery. And we'll be discussing that a little more with Josh later, who hand-placed every one of those boats. One of the developers, Ryan, who is in the tower, is with us, and now that we've departed, his workload will probably be a little less in the tower. So if he's here, we'd like to ask him a couple of questions about the work he's put into this scenery.
Absolutely, I'm here with you.
Hi, Ryan. So you're one of the team of Josh and yourself who developed this. So maybe just give us a little bit of an overview of part of the work that you've done on the scenery. And just give us some of your insights and some of the challenges and struggles you faced, and what your feeling is about the outcome.
Well, to be honest, we kind of have split the workload going through this process, and it's been a learning process to say the least. A lot of new adventures we've kind of taken on, learning some of the 3D modeling, the ins and outs of that to make everything as intricate and realistic as we could. So that was definitely a struggle. Fortunately, there's a lot of good resources out there for learning, so we had that to our advantage. But as far as workload, we both had a lot of headaches and a lot of triumphs, and it was a lot of fun. And I think we're both hopeful that this is going to be accepted by the community very positively.
Well, I had some privilege of being able to listen in on your Discord as you were developing some of this, and it was really interesting to see some of the basically creating something out of nothing that you guys did as far as the buildings and making them, look as realistic as some of the actual photos. And I know Josh did a lot of work on some of the hangars with that. You did a lot of work on the A-frame and basically created it out of nothing. And so to me, it was just amazing to see this thing rise from nothing.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun for us, trying to see how far can we take it, how close can we get these buildings to the real thing. Scouring the internet for every source we could to compare, and there's not a whole lot out there for an entire airport, so you have to use your imagination, but it's really rewarding at the end of the day.
Well, exactly, and I think particularly, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, the standard, at least for me, for Lake Tahoe was always in the FSX and P3D scenery, that there was always the iconic A-frame green building, and just flying into Lake Tahoe, it gave you that feeling that you really came to a classy place. And ever since moving from that sim, there's been nothing that has even come close to that. X-Plane has some scenery, but nothing that looks even remotely close. And the stock scenery that was in Microsoft Flight Simulator looks like some old aircraft hangar that should be torn down from an airbase in the 1940s. So it was a big disappointment to fly into Lake Tahoe. And now when I heard you guys were choosing this as one of your sceneries that you were going to start developing as a payware, it was exciting. And then to see the level of detail, even comparing it to P3D when I fire up my old version of the sim, and look like you've captured all that, but with some real modern day improvements. And I know Josh will be able to talk about that in a minute on some of the the research that he did into what's actually there now. And how you've incorporated that. So to me, it's just phenomenal. And to be able to see it on kind of a first-hand basis was, just a real treat for me.
It was for me as well. I think Josh was a little more familiar with the area and the airport itself. I've never flown into this airport. So to see it all come together and then go and watch some videos on YouTube, seeing real life pilots landing there, I was kind of taken back how realistic this was and how familiar it became just instantly seeing those buildings like the A-frame and the Mountain West and the big old tower on the hill.
Yeah. Okay, let's just get a word in from one of the other beta testers, Chris. Chris, just maybe give an overview of kind of what you saw in the Microsoft Flight Simulator before, and then how you feel it's changed with the new scenery and how you are appreciating that.
Yeah, not a problem. And I got about 2,500 hours flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I fly this airport a lot, and it's night and day from what Flight Simulator offered and what these guys offer. Buildings, it's just like flying realistic, like you're actually flying into the real airport. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, just
to anybody.
Excellent. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun doing some, numerous circuits and patterns around here, and doing it sometimes together. So it's, there's a camaraderie going from being able to fly together, and so we really had some fun helping out with some of the testing here. So I guess our flight is going quicker than I thought it would, but let's get Josh in here and get some of his take on this. Like, I know he researched things even down to getting some sheets on what the hangar size were as rentals and that, so he could determine what size each unit was in order to build the hangars on the south end as accurately as possible. And so it's just amazing. So he'll be able to just elaborate on a lot of the work that he did. He built the Mountain West FBO from scratch, and so just there again, just phenomenal work. So Josh, just give us some of your take on the whole process.
Sure thing, Dan. And first of all, I just want to say thanks for having us on. This is a fun collaboration. Get to do a fun flight today, and It's been a pleasure working with you on it so far. But so thanks for that. And then kind of on to your question. So yeah, one thing we found trying to look up these airfields and get the best accurate representation you can find, you have to use all sorts of different sleuthing techniques. So a combination of Bing satellite, Google satellite, and surprisingly even watching down to YouTube videos, because a lot can change in the time that a satellite goes over. And we found that to be very true. A lot of the Mountain West buildings, they made a pretty significant update to a large executive hangar down closer to the lake. Yeah, up until that point, I think that was about 2013, business jets that would come in here, they'd drop off their paying passengers, and they always had to relocate the aircraft to Reno. And so now they have a place they can actually stay overnight. So that's just one example. And yeah, you did. I guess I probably dove into it pretty deep trying to get the spec sheets to look at the different hangar widths for the Southern Green hangars with the solar panels on the roofs, and try and match up which, because at first glance they all appear exactly the same, but they're not. So some of them have little storage buildings on the side, which you'll notice by the roll-up garage doors. And just Ryan and I really tried to make this as professional a product as we possibly could.
Microsoft Flight Simulator is such an amazing sim as far as the scenery goes, and we're getting spoiled with basically wherever we're going, we're seeing things that are relatively true to life. As far as mountains and valleys and rivers, and then some of the airports that we really like, to have them be a big disappointment, it just takes away from that whole process. And so then to have an airport like Lake Tahoe done in this quality.
Yeah, I won't plug any of our other products. I'll leave that to you if you feel necessary, but we are continuing to put these together and going to put them out on a regular basis. This one is not one that I have any real firsthand knowledge of, but some of the other airports, as Dan mentioned, I was an aircrew member on Black Hawk helicopters like a lifetime ago, it feels like. But so I have a lot of contacts and friends in the aviation community. I've been in it my whole life.
So those of you who are Jerry Wagner fans will likely recognize
1 mile final
this approach,
runway
and
25.
will also recognize the basically everything on this airport that is there in real life. When Josh primarily did the design on this one, some of the things he was pointing out in this airport that he was adding into the scenery was like, oh, is that really there? Even with all the videos and all the flying I've done into this, I didn't realize some of the details that he found that was actually here in real life at Auburn, and he's added that. You'll notice all the aircraft that were hand placed there as realistically as the Google Earth photos that he found for the airport. So it was, to me, this is just a treat to have this airport done to this level as well. And it's freeware. Everybody can go to Flight Sim TO and pick it up.
Auburn traffic, Seneca 771 Lima Delta on a 2 mile final for runway 25, Auburn.
November 65 Mike, 5 mile final, runway 25, Auburn.
Starboard traffic, Seneca 771 Lima Delta is clear of the active. Auburn.
Be sure to check out the links in the description for the Stealthy Duck website. And thanks to Chris, Josh, and Ryan for joining in the flight today.